To me, it wasn't really a shock. It just confirms that Garp didn't know, and also kind of makes sense to a degree because he became a vice admiral, and only the admirals actually have dealings with celestial dragons. And since he's a vice admiral, we don't know how much vice admirals are involved with celestial dragons. We only know certain aspects where they were involved was mostly at Egghead. And that was for specific reasons, like the Burst of Coil type of thing. But if you look at it, they said that only admirals have it. Again, he joined the Marines, a couple years later, around the same time, actually, when Rox took out the admiral. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually also surprised, too, how come there's no admirals on this island?
Do you think, because for a while back, early in the flashback, we saw Sengoku, Garp, and Tsuru, right, as vice admirals. Do you think Sengoku's an admiral now? Because that was a few years ago. Do you think he's an admiral now?
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, there's a possibility. I have no idea. And that goes again, if he is, how come Sengoku's not here?
It seems like these events are secretive.
Yeah.
For sure. Mm-hmm. And the reason why the Navy is even here, they might not all make it out based upon them just being here. They might all disappear because of the event. Yeah. So there's probably Marines that disappear every 3 years.
I want to clarify one thing. So what we got is that the Marines showed up early on to kind of shift things around. But then they were supposed to go back to their ships. Technically, they weren't supposed to see what was supposed to happen. Yeah. So it's they do a thing what the world government wants them to do. Then they leave, and then the Celestial Dragons carry out their whole thing without the Marines' knowledge, so to speak.
Exactly.
That makes sense. Because I was thinking in my head with Garp, and he's talking to Sengoku. But I'm thinking, Sengoku's not the one who told you to come here. Kong did. But I'm wondering why he's not talking to Kong about this, but he's talking to Sengoku. Mm-hmm. And now Sengoku mentions there was somebody who did know. And it shows how it could be ignorant in your own brass. Before this happened, Rox is the one who said to Harry, you know how much Garp hates the higher-ups in his own brass. He should just be a pirate already. I wonder if this is the mark, or it was before. Did he always decide that I'm not going to be an admiral? Or seeing this is it was the confirmation, no, I'm never being under that. You can say, I can make a change, I can do this. But seeing this, realizing this moment, is where it's just I refuse. I don't care what you say, Kong, I'm not doing it. Because when I thought of too, when Sengoku said, pretty much the person vanished. But Lone showed me a panel during the flashback saying that the only reason why Garp is still in the Marines, even though his insubordination, I always thought he'd been kicked out. But now I'm thinking they would have probably took Garp out. But Garp still kept on being insubordinate. Kind of implying that you couldn't take Garp out. So you don't like the brass already. And we don't know if that affects being an admiral until seeing this. Probably confirming that you're not being an admiral, you continue being insubordinate for years. Besides just being Marine and saving people and beating up pirates. What was your goal at the end? Because that's the means to an end. You can only save so much by yourself without building something or attack the root of the source. It puts Garp in a somewhat bigger light, because I know people were bashing him saying he knew, whatever. But now he didn't know. But again, what's your goal? What was your purpose now? But yeah, I want to leave here.
I want to mention Garp not knowing the situation helped me put Garp in a better light because I was still confused with certain things, right? Mm-hmm. I believe there's no admirals here because of, again, it's supposed to be secret and they have different goals. Admirals are high profile characters that's getting more alerts to who's here. Mm-hmm. If you have low ranking Marines, they could be anywhere, but you have admirals, that's easier to keep a record of. Admirals can't just go anywhere on their own. You have to have a record of where they're at. So, and then the whole conversation with him and Sengoku. So I want to paint this little thing about Garp. What I understand about Garp is, because his future goal is, I realize there's something later on with Garp, is what he's supposed to be. The representation of what a Marine is supposed to be. Nothing more, nothing less. A Marine is supposed to protect civilians while fighting pirates. That is their role. That is their job. Garp is that. Everything he takes his stance on in the Marines-wise, he's supposed to show, no, I'm a Marine. I don't get involved with these world governments and protecting Celestial Dragons. That's not my job. You guys are not pirates, and you guys have your own government to protect you guys. I don't have to focus on worrying about it. No, my job is to work with civilians, protect them, and fight pirates. Mm-hmm. So Garp is setting the example of trying to show everyone, don't bother with the world government. Other Marines get telling them, they want to be affiliated with the world government more. But Garp's no, that's not needed, especially if you see their character and what they are. He goes, I don't mess with them. Because Garp doesn't really have any affiliation, not just with Celestial Dragons. If you look at the world governments in total, Garp kind of forsake them all. It's the world government as a whole he doesn't really mess with. It's only the kingdoms where he'll protect the people for the Reverie. He'll protect the kingdoms going to the Reverie. He'll protect them, because that's outside the world government as that organization. And he'll protect citizens and fighting pirates. That's what Garp's trying to show. That's what Marines, that's what we're supposed to do. That's our duty. I think he's trying to show that example into that and teach that to others, and so to speak, by leading that way. This is what we do, not that other nonsense stuff. I think that's where you left off, so that's all I'm going to say here.
I've got to come clean, yo. I was wrong about the Navy knowing everything about the native hunting competitions. I've made strong arguments before, claiming that the Navy and everyone who joined it was just as guilty. But after this chapter, it's clear there's more to the story than I originally thought. The Navy is still responsible for countless atrocities: the destruction of O'Hara, the mass murder of unborn children, the white lead disease quarantine, and so much more. But the new information does shed light on a deeper layer of compassion for Garp and Sengoku. Yes, I am saying we should have compassion for these two guys, just a little bit more. If speaking about the native hunting competitions caused someone to vanish from the Navy ranks, that tells us just how dangerous the truth really was. Anyone who talked was erased. Simple as that. Sengoku knew about it, and now we know Garp did too. But this also reveals something important. Not every Marine was aware. Many, like Garp, may have gone their entire careers without knowing the full extent of the world government's darkness. And that makes me wonder, after everything that has happened, did Garp and Sengoku, as best friends, quietly create something to fight back? Could this have been the true origin of SWORD, a secret Marine faction that operates independently from the world government while still keeping loose ties? It would explain a lot. Sengoku's relationship with Don Quixote Rocinante might not have been purely familial, because Sengoku did treat him as a son. It could have been also professional. Corazone's undercover mission was to watch over Doflamingo's crew, might have been one of SWORD's earliest operations. Likewise, Garp rescuing Kobe, a confirmed SWORD member, doesn't feel like a coincidence either. So I have to ask myself, what were Garp and Sengoku really thinking after God Valley? Were they silently rebelling from within? Did they realize they couldn't challenge the higher-ups head-on, so they waited, planning something greater in the shadows? Did they realize the same thing Rox realized when he spoke directly to Imu's face? Maybe Sengoku stopping Garp from attacking Akainu after Ace's death wasn't just about control. Maybe it was about preserving a larger plan, something that couldn't risk exposure, not even in a moment of heartbreak. If that's true, then perhaps Garp allowing Ace's execution and his silence toward Dadan wasn't cowardice at all. It was protection. Because if anyone close to him learned the truth about the native hunting competitions, they might have vanished too. And that brings me to this. Even now, I ask myself, would I be satisfied knowing the dangers of this information if I were a Marine? If I were Garp or Sengoku, and I was in their shoes, would I have acted differently? As a person, am I arrogant enough to think I could actually do something about it? Or too stubborn to admit that I'd be way over my head? Would I even care? Because it is incredibly cruel to let unborn children die before they even had the chance to sin, to watch entire nations suffer, or to know slavery continues across the world, and do nothing while I'm in a position of policing to do something. Am I delusional for thinking I could change it all by myself? Be honest, maybe. But the truth is, I do believe I could. That's the kind of person I personally am. When I see something wrong, I feel compelled to act. If I believe I'm in the right, I don't back down. And if I can't do it with others, then I'll find a way to do it on my own. That makes me wonder, who would I become? Would I end up like Kid, like Luffy at Sabaody, like Blackbeard at, Impel Down? Or would I become another dragon, like Kaido, Big Mom, Odin? Or maybe even like my favorite character in all of One Piece, Rox D. Xebec? It's a lot to think about. Maybe this is how Garp and Sengoku truly feel. That the weight of it all was simply too much and they needed someone with the pure, undying will to change everything, like Kobe. Even Fujitora must carry some of that same burden. It's wild to think about, but it makes the world of One Piece feel more human than ever. And also, to add the final touch to this, I think this is the reason why Garp didn't want to take the Fleet Admiral position. One, he couldn't take orders from them. So if him and Sengoku are in cahoots with SWORD and are looking to change the Navy from within, Sengoku was willing to take that chair for Garp. And that's the reason why. What y'all think about that?
I never even thought, because I know SWORD is made, but who's the originators of SWORD, and also Garp and Sengoku in cahoots on making SWORD. That never crossed my mind, and I like it. I kind of see it too.
When you said that, like you said, I didn't think about it too. In a way, they're both closest apprentices. We're both part of SWORD. Like you said, Corazon for Sengoku, paid attention to Sengoku's relationship with Corazon, cared deeply for him, and I think we get to think that it started with Corazon.
Yeah.
And then I was shocked when I found out too, Because I was thinking, this doesn't make any sense when I found that Kobe was part of Sword. And I was like, but your goal was to be Fleet Admiral. How are you going to achieve your dream of being Fleet Admiral and then also being Garp's apprentice when you're part of Sword? It didn't make sense to me. But taking out too, like how much Garp naturally just pushes back against everything the world government does, especially the Ancestral Dragons, and not even aligning with them. But you have Sengoku saying, yo, Garp, we can't both have a strong stance against this. Sengoku was little, but you also had like, I also have to play the line, hold the road, whatever. Garp was like, I can't do that at all. Like, you know, it's like, no, I don't want anything to do with them. You know? So I think the closest apprentices were part of Sword, so that's very interesting.
Yo, and now you made me think of even deeper. When Akainu took out Ace, it could have been a double impact on the whole situation. Because Garp, you know, was angry he was about to take out Akainu. And Sengoku was like, I know you're angry, whatever, but you taking out Akainu was going to mess up our whole plan. The anger was there, and Garp was going to throw it all away for Ace. And Sengoku had to stop him from ruining everything. I just thought that now, like just thinking like, yo, what if that was actually was really going on?
And harmony with that too, like it shows like how much, like I know a lot of people are ripping Sengoku, but you gotta realize how much his boy was Garp. Because I was told too, I could understand why Garp's position, why he didn't really fight much on Marine for the War. But what was Sengoku's excuse? He didn't let Luffy punch him in the face like Garp did, but he didn't do really much to stop Luffy either. And they're both standing right there next to Ace. So in the way, they both kind of let Ace go.
Yeah.
You know? So like, situation, Sengoku could have did a lot more to stop Luffy. I can say, obviously we know Garp's reason, but why did Sengoku do it? Because him and Garp are partners. A lot of times Garp would kind of go overboard and Sengoku has to cover it up. For example, even like letting Luffy go or letting his power go. Sengoku was like, yo, you can't do this. I'm Fleet Admiral. Like, I can't just let you get away with all this stuff. Garp, you gotta at least try to do something. Yeah. He goes, all right, and he'll come back, all right, I gotta do this because whatever, right? It's like, I played the whole run. So Sengoku's like right here, like Lionel's bringing out, was like, all right, I can't, this is one thing we can't do.
Yeah.
If you take out an Admiral, we're both done. Like, you know, you're under my watch, and then it's like, I can't cover for you this time. It talks more about their relationship and what they were doing in the Marines.
Yeah.